Hi, and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world to you. I'm Kibin, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up, the CEO and founder of MoCaFi joins us on Skype to discuss the expansion of the IRC migrant program, which allows migrant families to purchase food and baby products using prepaid debit cards. Then co-founder and executive director, along with a project manager for Street Lab, shares more details on their pop-ups around New York to help strengthen neighborhoods. After that, a SNAP Ed nutrition educator for BronxWorks joins us later to speak about their seasonal farm stands to help promote food security in the Bronx. And finally, the Chief Strategy Officer for Pathway to Purpose speaks on how they are providing students with critical information needed for college. So stay tuned. All this and much more is headed your way because we're now officially open. Hello everyone, I'm Kibin, and today is Tuesday, July 23rd. You are now watching Open, a program that brings the Bronx and New York City straight to you. Don't forget to stay connected with us via social media at BronxNet TV. After successfully launching a pilot program offering prepaid debit cards to migrant families for purchasing essential resources, the city is now expanding its immediate response card program to reach more migrant families. Financial services and assistance company MoCaFi is assisting with this endeavor. The CEO and founder Wole Coaxum joined me to discuss this initiative. Wole, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thanks so much for having me today, Kibin.
Now, I'm really excited to learn a little bit more about MoCaFi. Can you tell me how this entire, this idea began?
Absolutely. So we had a couple years ago, after the death of Michael Brown, I was a senior executive at JP Morgan, and I was spending a lot of time thinking about, how might I use my time and talents to help un- and underbanked communities across the country sort of have a pathway to economic mobility and economic security. And that his murder inspired me to sort of use my time and talents to try to solve that problem. And with that was the creation of MoCaFi. We started back in 2016, really thinking about the best way, or one way, to help people is to get them better access to government resources to stabilize themselves, and then they can move forward economically and financially.
Now, expanding on that, you believe that everyone needs the opportunity to fully participate in the economy. Can you just tell me a little bit more about how you honor that with the work that you do at MoCaFi?
Absolutely. And I think what we've come to appreciate and understand is that a lot of people do not have access to high quality, low cost financial services. And many of us have heard what James Baldwin said many years ago, which is it's expensive to be poor. And so we thought about how might we enable individuals to reduce their costs. Some families can spend more money on check cashing fees than they do on food. And so we wanted to really figure out a way to bring those costs down so people could keep more of the money that they have earned by not having to pay excess fees. And then at the same time, what we figured out is government has a responsibility to serve everyone in its community, not just some. And if there are resources that are available to individuals from government but aren't able to get to people, just here in New York, it's estimated that about $5 billion of resources for low and moderate income communities don't get to people because there's not an efficient way to do it. And so we're trying to honor that vision by providing a platform that gets those resources to people efficiently. And what we're doing with the asylum seekers is a great example of that.
Now, we're definitely going to go into some of the work that you've done, or your most recent work, but can you tell us a little bit more, give us some examples of ways you've assisted families, since the inception of MoCaFi?
Oh, yes. Well, we're very excited about the work that we've done all across the country. We've been engaged in over 20 municipalities. Our strategy is a place-based one where we say, okay, what is the financial plumbing, if you will, that we can put in place for a city like Los Angeles or St. Louis or Birmingham and allow resources to get to people? I'll give you a quick example. In 2020, then Mayor Garcetti of Los Angeles said, hey, I would like to create contactless government. I'd like a way for individuals to have single sign-on for city services. I like a way for the city to be able to provide money to people electronically. And I like a way for people to pay for city services electronically. And there are 500,000 people there who don't have bank accounts. And we white labeled our product and our platform and services. So now they have a way for individuals to receive money from the city electronically, make payments electronically. We did the largest universal basic, one of the largest universal basic income programs in the country there, where 3,000 families received $1,000 a month for a year. And we're actually doing a similar program in Los Angeles County, where you've got 1,000 families receiving $1,000 a month for 3 years. And so we've been able to use our platform to help communities thrive and grow.
Now, your most recent effort is a partnership with the City of New York supporting migrants financially. Can you tell me a little bit more about this effort and how it began?
This is a really exciting opportunity where it's one of those instances where everybody wins. And so this several years, about a year and a half ago now, the city came to us. We had gone through the process of negotiating a contract that allowed us to bring that idea I just discussed in Los Angeles. And Mayor Adams had studied different models that were working across the country, came across the Los Angeles model and said, I'd like to bring some of that innovation here to New York. We've had conversations to bring that to New York. And then in the course of that, the opportunity came up and said, hey, is there a use case where we might be able to provide asylum seekers with a debit card instead of having food delivered to them, pre-made meals delivered to them on a regular basis? And so we went down the process of scoping that out, understanding what the opportunity was. And we realized that if through the intake process, the city identifies families who are going to various hotels, instead of having meals delivered to those hotels, at the end of the intake process, we provide them a debit card based on the size and composition of the family. They would receive a stipend per person, which is based on based on SNAP and WIC. And then we would fund those cards and allow individuals to purchase food at bodegas and supermarkets, limiting it to just food and baby supplies. And that started as a pilot, which we launched in March. And we were able a couple of weeks ago to take it into full launch, where all of the folks that are in the Home Assistance New York City program or Hemick program are able to receive a debit card. And it's worked very well. And the reason it's one of those instances where everybody wins, the city has reduced its cost to provide meals to individuals to the tune of 60%, if not more. It's enabled individuals to have choice in terms of the meals and the kinds of food that they want to eat, and that's appropriate for their diet. It's appropriate for their interest in terms of types of foods they want to eat. And the third piece is it allows dollars to circulate into local businesses. And we know that when dollars go into local businesses, that dollar cycles 2 to 4 times in the community. And so it's an economic development play in addition to saving money and providing people better choice.
Now, I'm so glad that you actually expanded on that, because I definitely wanted to kind of explore that just a little bit more. I know that, with these prepaid cards, a lot of people have had a lot of mixed ideas and opinions on it, but you explained why it may actually be better or, just more beneficial to the families in need to have these cards. Can you further explain, how it also just supports, everyone involved, when these families are allowed to kind of make decisions for themselves? How does it make it easier for the family as well as, the person assisting them with this help?
Oh, no question. I mean, we all want to have choice about how we live our lives, and we want to feel empowered, and we want to be on a path towards overall economic mobility. And so for an individual who is receiving pre-made meals, one of the things that the feedback that we'd receive in terms of talking to different city council members and whatnot is oftentimes those meals would go uneaten and oftentimes end up on the streets, causing yet another issue in terms of a trash issue, right? And so now by giving someone the ability to support that local store, support that corner bodega, you are doing two things, right? One, giving the individual a chance to say, I'd like this and not that, and walk away from a meal feeling satisfied. And at the same time, you have the ability for a local store owner who's always thinking about how they can grow their business and hire more people and provide more goods and services in the community. And now they've got a revenue stream that otherwise may not have been available to them. And at the same time, the taxpayers of New York City are in a position where we know that our dollars are being spent more efficiently than was happening before. And one of the things that I'm just so excited about is the willingness for the administration to think innovatively about new products and services, and city council to support it. So it's one of those things where everybody wins. And when you provide the facts to people, those opinions have become, wow, this is a good thing. And maybe we should think about other ways of expanding. And the other part that's really exciting is we have the ability to open up bank accounts for undocumented people. So just imagine now over time, our newest arrivals in this country into our city now have the opportunity not just to get resources so they can take care of themselves in a way that has dignity, but over time can go into safe and responsible banking products that enable them to have a very efficient and safe and secure way to participate in our economy. So we're excited about all the different ways that this is having a positive impact for a variety of different people.
Now, what do you hope to see for the future of this program?
Oh, we are very hopeful that there'll be other entities that we can partner with, entities who may do food preparation, but might say, hey, we'd like an option for folks to be able to make purchases in addition to the food preparation. We'd like to be able to see if we can expand it to other participants in the asylum program. There are a variety of different shelters that do not, that currently still have meal delivery, and we think there might be an opportunity to maybe create a hybrid, and we can be a part of that. And there are other opportunities as it relates to other expenses that could be efficiently delivered to people via the platform instead of other forms of payment. So we're really leaning into this idea of saving money for the city, providing better experience, and then at the same time, we have other parts of the state as well as other parts of the country that are having similar challenges in terms of providing services to people seeking asylum. And we want to be able to use New York City as a model that people can follow in those other locations.
Well, I want to thank you so much for educating, our community. As mentioned, so many of us, live in New York City, and I think a lot of people don't really understand what's happening. Or, you hear a lot of different opinions from the news or online, and you make up your own ideas. But I think it's amazing that you took the time to speak with us and really talk about the work that you're doing to help people who need it most. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to coming back anytime to share ideas with you and your audience.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Take good care.
To learn more about the work MoCaFi does, please go to their website at mocafi.com. Don't go away. We'll be back with more Open after this.
19.7% of Bronxites currently experience food insecurity. Meanwhile, instead of these nice, colorful foods, this is the best food that they have access to. If this sounds like you, there are a bunch of resources to get healthy food for free or cheap. If you want to help, you might consider donating or volunteering in one of these places. Community fridges like this one are all over the city, and allow New Yorkers to conveniently donate extra food to people who might need it. Go to this link and find your nearest one. Food banks and pop-up events like these provide millions of healthy meals to families in need. These organizations are distributing meals to Bronxites as we speak, and are always accepting donations and volunteers.
Welcome back. The organization Street Lab creates interactive outdoor programs transforming public spaces throughout New York City. Their overall goal is to enhance the urban environment, build strong communities, and unite the people of NYC. Co-founder and executive director Leslie Davol and project manager Jim Lammers joins me to discuss the organization and their most recent effort to cool down our city. Thank you both so much for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Now, can you reintroduce our viewers to Street Lab and its overall mission?
Sure. Street Lab is a nonprofit that creates and shares programs for public space across New York City. Programs that make a place for learning, play, creativity, and more. We do the work, I think, as you said, to strengthen neighborhoods and to bring communities together. It's about a vision of the city where everyone has places to gather and ways to connect right in the heart of neighborhoods, sometimes right outside their front door. And we use a pop-up approach to make that happen. We pop up with our programs over 400 times each year across the city in all kinds of neighborhoods. Everywhere we go is by request. We're always partnering on the ground with community groups that are there, that are long-term efforts to make neighborhoods better. 81% of our work is in underserved, low-income areas, and we also make kits for other cities to kind of share what we do in other places.
And we're definitely going to learn a little bit more about those kits because I think that's pretty amazing. But I'd really love to learn, how does Street Lab provide a safe space for children in the Bronx?
This is something we're really focused on right now, and the answer is school streets is one of the ways to do it. School streets are, in the city's terms, open streets next to schools. Those are streets that are closed temporarily to cars. To make space for play, for safe drop-off and pickup, for learning. And we're doing a lot of this right now. We're focused on working with schools in the Bronx. And we've long worked with communities to create play streets that everybody knows, from New York's history, that have long been a tradition. And the school streets are really just an extension of that. To open up the possibilities of how we can use our streets. Mm-hmm. And we see a lot of opportunity in them to transform the city.
Yeah, and to do this work, we're meeting partners where they're at, directly addressing the needs of each partner and catering the program specifically to each location. And then what follows is an intensive process that ensures that both the success of the street when it's first initially activated, but that, it also has legs to last for years to come. And in this process, we're helping with things like site visits, doing outreach and engagement, all of this aiming to build a relationship directly with the partner and the surrounding community that is served, so that Street Lab is deeply embedded in these locations. And then the result is a transformed street, a new space that brings both immediate benefits to the community while also, showcasing the potential for long-term change. And, Street Lab, these school streets, they create these beautiful moments, where a parent and caretakers after school are able to have a conversation while they wait for their student. You might see a teacher running through an obstacle course with their student, and then neighbors are able to feel invited to a safe space and come out onto their steps, onto the street, and be a part of something beautiful. And then for kids specifically, a chance to play safely with their friends, while as an alternative, find a moment of solace and grab a book and settle up and breathe in the fresh air on the street outside their school.
Now, I think this is so amazing, and I probably said this before, but the fact that it's just using the world around us, you don't have to wait years for something to be built. This is just, right on the ground. And we see that New Yorkers are very resourceful and will find a way to kind of have fun wherever we are. So I think that's amazing. I really love to know, how long has Street Lab been in the Bronx and how has it evolved?
I think last time I was here, Kibin, I said we were approaching our 200th pop-up in the Bronx. We're now approaching our 310th. pop up in the Bronx. Our work has been increasing, with this effort that we're doing now in the Bronx, but we've long worked at places like Roberto Clemente Plaza, Fordham Plaza, St. Mary's Park. We've worked with community groups there to activate those spaces and bring new resources and programming. Now we've got these new open streets. Some of them, just for example, are Mount Hope Place with PS 28, Goebel Ave with CMSP 327, and then neighborhood streets also as well that are with neighborhood groups like Decatur Ave, which I think is not too far from here, Evelyn Place, and Grand Avenue in the Bronx. So, we've been going back to some of these locations year after year and have been with some of them for 10 years. One example of that is, a favorite of ours, Jennings Street, that's in Morrisania, where, 10 years ago, that was a play street run by Lonnie Hardy of Caldwell Enrichment Program. She's still going strong today. We've seen that street evolve, where she's been plugged into the city programs and getting more resources and support. She has SYEP youth every summer who help run that street. We've been going there every year. Last summer, we had a beautiful moment with her where we were able to bring out the New York Yankees. The players came and played with the kids, and they had a great time. They said it was old school. And so 37% of our work right now is in the Bronx, and it is a priority for us right now, and it's where we're having, we're finding some of our most meaningful, high impact sort of partnerships.
Well, I definitely want to explore something new that you've launched for this summer, and that is called Oasis. As we all know, in New York City, it's been very, very hot. So can you talk about Oasis and just the idea, behind that, where it came from, and why it's needed?
Yeah, well, today is a case in point, right? So it is crisis time. And, the heat keeps people indoors, and the heat can affect their physical health, but also their mental health and their sense of well-being and how much they feel connected to their neighbors. So, when we sit on a street, we see our neighbors, that's where we feel good sometimes, right? That's where we get that sense of connection. So the idea behind it was really we're experiencing it. It's hotter, it's harder to be out there and do this work with communities, but so the idea was really to cool people down. How can we make a solution for cooling people down? There are cooling centers, you have emergency kind of measures, but how can we provide a social space where people can stay cool? So the idea is with a little, sort of the things that we know cool people down: shade, water, plants, and trees. They do a big part of the work. And the Bronx has less of that. The Bronx has less tree cover and has some of the highest heat index sort of on the heat vulnerability scale. So we've got this program that plugs into a hydrant. Jim can explain a little more how it works, but we're taking that around. We're very excited about it.
Yeah. So it's essentially what you can expect on the street is a winding blue river that, as Leslie mentioned, hooks up to the hydrant and then sprays a light mist into the air. This is paired with shade and seating elements, as well as our portable landscape, which is these carts that have plants and add a touch of greenery to sometimes harsh urban streetscape. And what we're also doing with this program is pairing it with our Imagine community engagement toolkit, which allows us to kind of speak with New Yorkers and hear from them about the heat and their experiences with heat in an increasingly warmer city. But with all of this, the idea is that you turn a corner onto a new street on a hot summer day and see this bright, beautiful oasis that kind of invites people in to, want to come in and cool off with their neighbors.
And I think this is so important, just hearing what you said about how the Bronx doesn't have, enough greenery, and how that also makes things hotter. And then when you stay inside, you're using more electricity, which you're building. It's a cycle.
Right.
And I think it's so amazing that not only is, Street Lab providing, something fun, but it's kind of attacking some of those or combating some of those unfortunate realities that a lot of lower income people have to face, especially, during the summer. So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, I also learned that this program will be extended to those in senior centers. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Because I know that you primarily work with children.
Sure, definitely. Well, all of our programs, we aim to design them to be for all ages and be able to bring generations together. But Oasis specifically, it kind of started with this long-standing tradition in New York of opening up the hydrants and, spraying water in the street on a hot summer day, which is, we love. We think it's so great. But what we heard from a lot of people, specifically older folks, is, sometimes you don't want to get soaking wet out in the street, and you can get absolutely drenched that way. And so what we wanted to create was kind of a more approachable opportunity for folks to come out in the street and cool off and still gather with their neighbors. And to do this, we actually have a little bit of support from AARP to actually prioritize senior center locations. Just last week on Decatur Ave, we were working with some seniors who actually helped us plant some of those portable landscapes that I spoke about, and put the plants in that we can take those carts to other locations and neighborhoods across the city, which is pretty cool.
Well, this is an amazing program, and I'm so glad I got the chance to learn a little bit more about it. Can you tell us about the kits that were created to kind of help other people kind of expand this, within their own communities, maybe around New York or just, around our country?
Yeah, well, it started kind of organically when we first started this work. We looked around for furniture and gear that would help us create an environment for learning, for reading, for play, for cooling off. And we found that we needed to make it ourselves. So we actually have a designer, and we have long made, we made furniture that kind of supports our work, that can be put together and taken down really quickly, that can look beautiful, but that also works, right, and is lightweight. So when we first started this work, we had our own kits, and libraries from around the world started to contact us saying, we want to do this. We want to have a portable reading room. We want to set up, because it started with the work started with a portable reading room, and then it's grown from there. And so we've expanded the kind of programs we have, the kind of gear and designs that we use, and groups have contacted us every year, saying, I want to do this in San Francisco. I want to do this in Rhode Island. I want to do this in Australia, and so, we think it can work anywhere, and with the right tools and someone who's willing to, again, be physical and move stuff and get it on the ground and keep deploying it. We think it can work anywhere, and we're so excited to see the work, happen somewhere else. The work we're doing in the Bronx is happening in another city, and that's how we keep that going.
Now, I think this is amazing, and there's an opportunity to, it just touches on so many things that are affecting, the communities, in New York, in the Bronx, around the world. Can you quickly just let us know what are your future plans for the growth of Street Lab? We will, most immediately, I think we really do want to expand the work we're doing with schools, and we want to work with more schools and double that work. We think it's got so much potential, and it can make such a difference. So many schools also lack, which I didn't really realize, but lack any kind of space, right? Any kind of outdoor space. So we'd love to do that. We think it can transform the city in a big way. We also work with neighborhood groups. We'd love to, if you have a vision, if you're someone out there who has a vision for your neighborhood and you want to bring your neighbors together and have a space to do that, we want to work with you. So we're working with block associations, community development groups, business improvement districts. So we'd love to hear from more people and keep expanding the work. At the same time, I think we always want to be creating new ideas and bringing new resources to neighborhoods. So we're always on the lookout for ideas about things that can work across the city to make people's lives better, and to create physical amenities and resources for them in their neighborhoods in a quick way, right? That maybe point the way towards something that's more needed long term, but we can do it pretty quickly in a pop-up way. So we're always eager for more ideas. Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining us and really talking about this. This was a lot of fun, and I'm definitely excited to learn more. So thank you.
Thank you, Kibin. Okay.
If you would like to learn more about the various pop-up Street Lab does around New York, please go to their website at streetlab.org. Stay tuned. We have more for you right after this.
Hey, creative family, my name is Timothy Coleman, and I'm the Director of Education here at BronxNet. And I'm standing in BronxNet's Media and Technology Studios in the South Bronx, because I want to let you know about an amazing program that we're bringing back that highlights the creativity of community members just like you. Emerging Media Makers is a show that introduces you to BronxNet certified producers. They've taken a step in their creative journey by enrolling in BronxNet's media training classes. On this show, you'll get to see the many ways that our certified producers have created a space that's all their own. Emerging media makers, your passion lives here.
Welcome back. Seasonal farm stands return to the Bronx through the work of the local organization BronxWorks. The seasonal farm stands aim to address the long-time issue of food deserts facing many residents in the Bronx. SNAP Ed Nutrition Educator Jairy Padro joined me to discuss. Jairy, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Now, BronxWorks reintroduced the seasonal farm stands to the Bronx, as I mentioned. Can you give an overview of the purpose of these farm stands?
Yeah, sure. So the purpose of the farm stands is to be an additional resource for community members to purchase fresh local produce. And so, yeah, we're there to promote the farm stands and also let them know that they're fresh, they're tasty, and they're nearby.
And I definitely want to add that I've actually seen them before, and they had the most beautiful, like, I don't even use that word to describe food or like fruits and vegetables, but I've never seen that before, like in our local, grocery stores. And I thought that was so interesting, the fact that having like this resource here is just so important, and it actually makes people want to eat healthier. And we'll definitely explore that a little bit later. But can you talk about, just through your work, how has the Bronx been impacted by having the lowest health outcomes in New York State?
So the Bronx has historically had high rates of obesity, heart disease, and diabetes. And I think they've been made worse just by the infrastructure of the Bronx. So there has been lack of resources that allow community members to live, work, and play. So lack of housing or immigration services, or just the safety in the neighborhood. And so I think it's important for us to highlight farm stands to help alleviate the symptoms of, or the burden of, obesity and heart disease and diabetes, or having them available to the community.
And like I mentioned, a lot of people, unfortunately, they try to be healthier, but as I mentioned, sometimes in our grocery stores, the fruit or vegetables may be expired already. By the time you get home, you may see that they have mold on them. So it kind of deters people from actually wanting to just eat healthier. And I definitely think that these farm stands address that.
Right.
Now, can you talk about how BronxWorks began this, partnership with local farmers, in an effort to kind of address this?
Yeah, so BronxWorks had partnered with Sheila Young, who's actually the market manager of the Mott Haven farm stand. And she's been doing the farm stand since the late 2000s. And so BronxWorks stepped in to help also support the community. We had mutual goals in increasing food access. And so we're just there to provide technical assistance for her. And yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's her market.
Now, I really love to discuss the presence of the local farmers and, how it addresses this decades-long issue of food deserts facing Bronx residents. Through this work, you just discuss maybe what has the response been like, I'm a Bronxite, so I've said it for myself, but I'm curious to know what you've seen just because of the farm stands just being in the area.
I think, well, many of our participants are worried about, I think they're confused about what to eat, how to eat. And I think that, having, not having fresh access to fresh fruits and vegetables makes it a little bit more difficult. Like when we're talking about access, like in the Bronx, there's a lot of bodegas, supermarkets. There is food, but are they able to access it? Is it fresh? Can they afford it? And so I think we as BronxWorks are coming in to teach them a lot of those food management skills, food prepping skills, and ways to like save money and time in doing that. And every family is different. So meeting them where they are and working through it with them. Yeah, supporting them.
That makes me, lead to my next question. Can you talk about the educational workshops available at the farm stands? Because it's more than just being able to buy fresh fruits and vegetables, but you actually learn something.
Yeah, so I'd like to think that in our farm stands, we're not totally selling completely different or unknown produce. A lot of the produce reflects the population, the community. And so I don't think our workshops or cooking classes are too unknown, I want to say, if that makes sense. But we do try to teach the community how they can store the fresh fruits and vegetables so that they can last longer, and also different ways to prepare them at home and add nutrition to the meals that they're already eating. So yeah.
Well, that kind of leads to my next question. With a lot of just, when people try to eat healthier, sometimes that means stepping away, or they think that means stepping away from what they've eaten their whole life, what's important to them culturally. Can you talk about the importance of ensuring that, while, residents are going to eat healthier, they can still eat the things that they enjoy or the things that mean most to them, whether it be from their, ethnic background or culture, things like that? Yeah,
I think that the mindset around healthy eating comes from a place of like taking away and just stripping your whole cultural identity, the foods you ate growing up. And one thing BronxWorks does is remind them that you're doing great. Your foods are very nutritious, and here's, you can add more nutrition instead of completely changing your whole diet around. And I think that's a very, easier way to go about nutrition, rather than feeling confused and lost about how to just be a healthier individual. A lot of people, we tend to put the blame on the individual when sometimes like lack of, fresh local produce is out of their hands. It's something much bigger than something they can control. So yeah.
Right. And then also with that, the word substitution comes to mind. Is like, you don't have to take away, you could substitute it for something else. And I've definitely seen some of the demonstrations, because I've had to cover them before, and I've seen some of these demonstrations, and they are, although you learn something new, there are some things that you're familiar with, and I think that helps a lot of people feel a little bit better about kind of stepping into that next role
and making
of their health journey. Yeah, and making those changes. Mm-hmm. Now, can you expand on the addition of health incentive coupons and what that's all about?
Yeah, so health bucks are $2 coupons that participants can use at the farm stand to purchase fresh local produce. And we use these at our farm stands as an incentive to get them to buy the fruits and vegetables. But they also get to stick around with us, hang out with us, and learn a little bit about nutrition, cooking skills, or just like agriculture. So yeah, it's just an added incentive to get them, encourage them to make healthier changes.
And can you just expand on, why it was brought up, or, why did BronxWorks feel that this was something that needed to be done?
Well, it aligns with our mission in supporting our Bronx family, our Bronx community. And we thought it'd be just important and needed to step into the role of supporting the community. That's what BronxWorks is about, in feeding our community.
Now, I want to talk about how the farm stands will employ Bronx youth through the Summer Youth Employment Program. I think that's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about that collaboration and just what it means to the community?
Yeah, so the Summer Youth Employment Program, we get summer youth every year, and we're able to teach our youth how to kind of manage the farm stands, and they learn lots of skills. They learn community engagement, customer service. They learn a lot about nutrition, and yeah, just like how to interact with each other. So yeah, we receive summer youth every year, and they learn really great skills.
And I think it's amazing that, you know, the youth has access to this because they're learning about nutrition in ways getting paid to do it, to learn about how to be healthy. And these are things that they can take home to their families that could, you know, help them as they go on. So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, can you tell me a little bit more just about how long the farm stands will be open and where can people find them?
Yeah, so the farm stands are open every year seasonally from July through November. There's various locations across the Bronx and the borough. I believe there's a total of 30 in the Bronx. We're just one of those 30s, but yeah, every week, July through November.
And what do you hope to see, you know, as this program comes back every year? How do you hope the program will expand or evolve, you know, as, you know, we as people, as a borough continues to evolve?
For one thing, I'm hoping that a lot more people are aware that we are here and that farm stands do exist. Many people don't know what a farm stand is. So yeah, and maybe just scheduling or doing farm tours, inviting different programs to come to a farm stand and just be exposed to fresh local produce is a really good way to, I think it starts with awareness, being aware that this is available in your community, that we're here to support you in your journey of being a healthier person and having a healthier diet.
And I think a lot of people think they have to go outside of the Bronx to kind of get that feel of like going to a farm stand with your tote bag and, you know, having that that nice feeling of like you got some fresh fruits and vegetables. How can people figure out where these farm stands are located within their own borough?
They can definitely go on the nyc.gov website. There is a farmers market map that's updated every year. 2024 has been updated, and I believe there's a number that you can text. You'll pop in your zip code and it'll show you the 3 nearest farm stands near you.
That's amazing. And just very quickly, can you just let people know, what would you say to somebody who maybe was like walking along the street, saw the farm stand, but didn't know how to interact, or, you know, didn't know if this was something that was right for them?
We get those all the time.
Oh, wow.
First we give a big smile and welcome them to our farm stand. And whenever they ask, we take the moment to explain, we're just selling fruits and vegetables. Come in or come take a seat on the bench. We're having a nutrition class. It's free. You get $2. So we invite them to stay with us by putting on a friendly face, being very welcoming and inviting.
And I think that's so important. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
To keep up with all the wonderful work that BronxWorks does, please visit their website at bronxworks.org. We have to take a quick break. We'll be back with more Open after this.
Only 57% of New York City high school students are college ready by their senior year. "55% of high school graduates either have no plans to attend college or are uncertain that they will ever attend. "34% of young adults don't go to college because they can't afford it. Discover what's possible. BronxNet's education programs, internships, and opportunities help engage and inspire Bronx youth and beyond to pursue their passions. Be a part of the BronxNet family. Whether you're interested in our shows, joining a class, or donating to support our mission, visit BronxNet.org to learn more.
Welcome back. Pathway to Purpose paves the way and empowers young students on their journey toward higher education and fulfilling careers. Through strong partnerships with schools, community organizations, and families, Pathway to Purpose strives to enhance comprehensive college readiness programs. Chief Strategy Officer for Pathway to Purpose, Miguel Melbourne, joins me to discuss. Miguel, thank you so much for joining me.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Now, can you tell us what led to the creation of Pathway to Purpose and its overall mission?
Absolutely. And I'll start with sort of how I fit into the picture. My background is in corporate America. And in 2019, I decided to leave corporate America to join Pathway to Purpose. And that's because I was so moved by the mission. You know, ultimately, I am one of the students we're serving. And so Pathway to Purpose started in 2016 by a brilliant young woman, Samantha Sinclair. We happened to have gone to the same college, Albany, you know, so there was high relatability. And Samantha in 2016 was having a marvelous year. She decided to start her PhD at Seton Hall University and in higher education. And simultaneously, she recognized that students across the city was having some of the same college and career prep challenges that she had way back when. And so she decided to do something about it. And the initial idea was to take students outside of their comfort zone, take them on a college campus, give them a chance to, some of them, it's the first time they're leaving their neighborhood, but she wanted them to see what it looks like so that they can have a clearer sense of what college was. And since then, we've evolved to doing over 227 college trips, and also recognizing some of the challenges that exist. We started doing workshops for students and parents. We've done over 1,100. We do staff development. We partner with schools and say, hey, tell us what you're thinking. Where are your students? And we even customize events. And then since 2020, facing the challenge that was COVID, we decided to double down and started to innovate some products. And so that's where Pathway to Purpose is right now, really focus on the innovation side of college and career prep.
Now, with that being said, what are some of the challenges facing New York City students academically?
Absolutely. That's a fantastic question. You know, when we think about New York City DOE, we are thinking the biggest, Department of Education in the country. We're also thinking about over 1 million students. That's a lot of students. And so what we're finding in terms of a challenge is that you're going to have students who are highly motivated. They're strong-willed. They have the discipline. They have the skills, the study habits. Then you're going to find students in the middle. And those students, they have the will. They're trying their best, but there are challenges and there are obstacles, and maybe they can't find that consistency. And then what you're also finding is that the low motivation students, right? And this is where they're having severe challenges. It could be anything. It could be, something happening at home. It could be, they haven't eaten. It could be any number of challenges. Or it could be one that's personal to me. They're new to the New York City Department of Education, and they're learning for the first time how to learn in America, which was my case when I came from Jamaica. And so one of the major challenge is how do we provide resources that's meeting students where they are in their academic journey, right? And then a second problem that I'd say all three categories of those students face is that oftentimes students can't draw a straight line between the effort that's required and expected of them on a daily basis to what is this going to give me in the future? Where is this going to take me? What job? And because they can't draw that straight line, we're seeing issues. And that's where, the entire Department of Education, but also organizations, CBOs like Pathway to Purpose. It's a beautiful challenge, to create the resources to overcome those challenges.
No, I definitely want to touch on something so important that you mentioned, and it was about your background. Pathway to Purpose contributes its success to having a multicultural team. Can you tell me a little bit more about the importance behind that, especially since we're here in New York City?
Absolutely. New York City is the Mecca, it's the height of diversity. And so I think a part of it is serendipity. One of the running jokes on our team is that 3 of us went to SUNY Albany, right? And it was at different times. Some of us, which we love to tell students that, listen, when you go to college, you have no idea who might become a lifelong friend, who you might do business with. And so we have Kathleen, she's of Dominican heritage. I'm Jamaican. Our founder, Samantha Sinclair, she's Guyanese. Sabrina is Guyanese. And so, we celebrate that. We celebrate, the fact when we go into a classroom and you say, hey, who's Dominican? Or they hear Kathleen speaking Spanish, that does something. And so what you also find in that first generation college graduates, what you also find is that we come from humble backgrounds. And then we also morph as an organization where we'll have volunteers come in. And those volunteers represent, I'm from the Bronx, I'm from this specific location, and the students love that. And so also, just what the upbringing was like. I grew up in a single family household. We have individuals that work with us, that they're open to telling the students, hey, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And look, from no idea and people supporting me, this is where I am. So, just as you mentioned, just the multicultural nature of it, the demographic nature of it is very important. And where it really plays a function is, I believe that there's 3 things we're trying to do when we're working with the youth. The first one, to be impactful, is we want to change their mood, right? It could be any number of reasons why a student has a certain mood, and we have to be able to gain their attention to change their mood, take them from wherever they are to excited. How do we do that? The second thing is we want to find a way to change their motivation. How do we inspire them? What do we have to say to give them hope? And then the last thing is, how do we give them a plan that's going to inspire movement? Give them the opportunity, give them some strategies that they're willing to take in action. And if we can do those 3 things, then, we're heading in the right direction. And as you mentioned, that multicultural nature, when they're seeing someone that looks like them or they're hearing themselves in their stories, it, helps to move the marker.
Now, what I thought was really interesting was that you work with middle school students as well. How do you prepare middle school students to begin thinking about higher education before they even enter high school?
Absolutely. I smile thinking about middle school students and even just my own middle school years. But the first thing is to change their mindset. And where we want them to get is, this is a time to be excited. Be excited. And the reason being that college and career prep, typically it starts to become something they take action on like 11th grade. If they're like really, if the infrastructure is really there. But for most students, it really becomes this big deal senior year. And really, it's only like 4 months. And inside that 4 months, there's application, there's essay, there's where am I going to get the money? So it tends to be a lot of anxiety and stress. But with our middle school students, we say, hey, you should be excited. You have 5-6 years at it. And look, we're talking about college and career prep now. And then, part of the way we approach it is there's an element of fun in everything that we do. One of my favorite things we do is it's called a College Awareness Day event. And so we go into a school, hundreds of students, broken down over different periods. And let's say we're using the auditorium and we break the students into 2 different groups and we're asking them these college and career prep questions and they're competing, right? I'll ask a question and they have to discuss it, select the person, and they run to the middle and the first one to get the answer. And it's a ton of fun. And by the time they're done, they're recognizing, how to work together, realizing what they know, what they learn, and then we give them prizes, there's music. So that element of fun, and that they should be excited about the prospect of what college and career prep could look like.
And I love that you say that you make it fun, because college is stressful, right? As a teenager, you're 16, 17, 18 years old, thinking about what you have to do for the rest of your life. And it all starts in college. So I think it's amazing that you make it fun so that when they do reach that point, they feel cool, calm, and collected, because this is something that they've been training for since middle school. So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, what else I also think it's pretty amazing that parents are also involved, because we don't hear that often. Can you talk about the importance of forming, relationships and just partnerships with the community as well as their parents?
Absolutely. A part of our, core ethos is that helping our next generation to be ready for college and career prep. It's a team sport. It's an all hands in. And so that is to say, of course, the students have a role to play. They have to try their best. They have to get their academics right, participate in extracurricular. But our parents, us, we have a major role to play, right? And so as well as our educators, are they armed with the resources they need to be able to put college and career prep in their daily curriculum? Then you have the role of CBOs, right? We have a big role to play. What are we doing? How are we helping? What solutions are we providing? And then also even at the corporate level, those corporations that love to support students. And so our goal here at Pathway to Purpose is to say, how can we empower all stakeholders? How do we provide services and products that everybody goes, fantastic. Yes, this is going to help advance the students that we serve. So it's critical. It's a critical component of what we do.
And with that, can you expand on the prep on demand and how this is for in-school staff to learn a little bit more as well?
Absolutely. So our prep on demand is our latest innovation. In 2020, we came out with our college study flashcard, the first of its kind. 2022, we spent an entire year. And what we did is, as I mentioned, we've done over 1,100 workshops across, let's say, 32 different categories. And when the pandemic happened, what happened is everything stopped, right? And we would typically execute workshops in school. And then we said, okay, this can't happen again. And so what we did was essentially take all the workshops that we do and we put it into this central digital online platform. And so now it creates easy access for students, for parents, for educators. And so particularly for our educators, what you find is, their knowledge tends to be the school they went to. And then the entire scope, they have sort of challenges. And even our guidance counselors, right? Our school counselors, if you have 500 students, we can say the same thing over and over again. And so there are all these challenges where our educators don't necessarily have the tool. So our prep on demand is we took all of our workshops, we broke it down into 6 different modules. The first one is understanding college. The second one is paying for college. The third one is being career ready. The fourth one is you got accepted, now what? Right? The fifth one is what it takes to win. And the last one talks about entrepreneurship. And so we will train an educator, right? Let's say it's the guidance counselor, or typically there might be an advisory hour. And this is a digital platform, well done. These are lessons that are anywhere from like 1.5 minutes to 10 minutes. It comes with downloads that educators can print out, put it up in the classroom on the bulletin boards. And one of my favorite features is that there's this chat box. And so as an educator, all they have to do is press play. And now there's a done for them curriculum. And inside that chat box, if the student has a question, if an educator feel like, I need to ask somebody, they have access to our team. And one of my favorite parts as well is that they have access for an entire year. And so we're like, educators, here we go. Let's talk college and career prep every day.
That's amazing. And this is what I love to hear, that it's really taking somewhat of a different approach just on helping, people, especially definitely important to mention that these are usually children from underprivileged backgrounds. So I think it's so amazing that this work is being done. And with that, I want to thank you so much for joining us and sharing a little bit about the community that you've built, with our community here at BronxNet. So thank you.
Absolutely. Pleasure.
To learn more about all of these amazing programs that they offer, please visit their website at pathwaytopurposenyc.com. We've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewers, for tuning in. If you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum Channel 67 and Verizon Fios Channel 33, or watch anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. You can catch a brand new episode of Open with Darren Jaime on Wednesday and with Rena Valentine on Friday. I'm Kibin, wishing you and yours safety and wellness now and always. See you next time.